Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode three of Controlled Chaos, where Carl, I, and Keegan, who is unfortunately not here today, we talk about anything and everything D&D related. We've been on a hot mix of new spells from Crown of the Oathbreaker, which is pretty interesting, adding in some new spice and some new flavor to some of the consistent spells that we see in the fifth edition of D&D. So for those of you that haven't looked, Crown of the Oathbreaker is a 900 plus page module that adds a whole bunch of chaos and craziness into the mix. So definitely recommend taking a look at that. And if you like reading, it's a pretty big book. But yeah, we're going to continue on with our strategy here and look at some new spells. So let's go ahead and as our wonderful DM says it in campaign one, let the chaos ensue. So today we're going to go ahead and look at a fun spell. It's the first couple of spells have been fourth level, and we're going to be consistent here with this one. Immobilize, pretty interesting graphic up here with some interesting energy coming out and capturing a chest and just harnessing it. Hence the immobilize spell, fourth level transmutation. It does take an action range of 60 feet with a handful of things. But this one reads, even if it defies gravity, a creature or an unattended item you touch becomes magically fixed. Um, Creature must make a strength save, or they basically become restrained. They can make the save remake the save at the end of each of their turns. On a success, spell ends as per usual. The interesting thing is that the item immobilized by a spell can hold up to a 8,000 pounds, which is actually pretty interesting. Anything more than that, the item's going to fall. And this one's pretty interesting. This is a pretty big strength save, but if a something is immobilized, a creature can make a DC 30 strength check, and they can move it up to 10 feet. Um, I don't know. My mind goes all over the place with this one. This is Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, which is really interesting. Um, and actually, the pretty cool thing is when you cast this with a sixth level spell or higher, this lasts forever. Um, and it doesn't require concentration. So that's actually pretty interesting. Originally, with this spell, it actually is concentration in a minute, but upcasting does some pretty cool things. Carl, what are you thinking about this one?
Uh, so at first glance, remind me of the
Yeah.
ended. I wasn't sold on it. That's pretty. It feels like they're both art fabric. Feel like person that to the ground and watches people come across and try and pick them up.
Right. Right. That is super interesting. Uh, my mind goes a little bit darker on this one. I'm thinking of some of our chaotic, our chaos goblin, Keegan as a bard, or maybe Rusty is Siddle here. But imagine from campaign one, Nasana comes over and they cast this at sixth or seventh level, and they basically just freeze her in place, and that's it. Now, someone can come through and dispel it. Don't get me wrong. She definitely has the ability to counterspell. But imagine if they got through the counterspell, and we were able to immobilize her and trapped her in somewhere, and literally just said bye bye. Like it gets pretty dark.
But it is a strength saving throw every round. I feel like
Well,
in that aspect, it's
it's so. And let me know your thoughts here. But if you do it at sixth level or higher, like, do they even get to make the strength save? Because
yeah.
it's the
It
spell
doesn't say
lasts.
they don't, and it so with D&D you take specific overgems. Specifically calls out previously that continues. And I think at that
Uh,
at higher levels when you cast the spell on items,
oh, I didn't see the item. I didn't see the. I literally went past the item part, and I just said, "Hey, it gets." spell lasts until dispelled. So I was thinking of a person and literally holding them in place. Thank you for catching that, because like I said, my mind went to a dark place.
Oh, for sure. I mean, mine definitely did it as well. That person's underwater and you cast it on them, suffocate, drowning. Yeah, definitely some aspects to use. That's why I said there's an RPG level as
Yeah.
well as a strategic. Although, if you have an immovable rod, I think you don't necessarily
Mhm.
higher level.
Yeah, this one's pretty interesting. I mean, it would definitely be a strength. Oh man, that
What level is
hold person is, I think, is a second level.
so when you have hold person second level and dispel this fourth level? I feel like
Yeah.
second level spell slot first.
Yeah.
Fourth level too valuable.
I agree. I see this as I see the fourth level spell here being utilized in like a some type of as you mentioned, some type of RP or even a saving mechanism. I mean, I'm thinking about we're trying to escape a castle or escape some type of place, and we don't want anyone to get through. Immobilize on the door, something like that, to where it can't be opened. You save the party. Or um, this one might be stretching it a little bit, but I'm almost thinking that, if you have to get to a higher cliff to escape, or whatnot, could you toss something up, immobilize it to where people can jump up, grab it, and then keep moving on? Almost like instead of your wonderful save in our last session here, where we use the conks to get back and then getting basically from the bottom level to the top level. That was pretty epic, by the way. Kudos for that. Using an immobilize spell on something to where we can basically affix it and then jump up to that higher tier, that would be.
For sure. And that's where I was saying if you don't have
Yeah. Yeah.
that was my thought as well, is we have a move. We could use
Oh.
athletics check, probably fall. But
Yeah, we don't want to go that route of, or at least Griswold doesn't want to go that route of athletics checks anymore, because that definitely has not ended well for me. That's for sure.
I thought about doing like some sort of like pulling it out, doing a jump with a rope tied around up.
Oh,
But
shit.
at the same time, then go back to that rope and do it.
Well, traumatized from what happened. For those of you that don't know, this is back to the Gredhog days where the Phandalin Five decided to invade the Hill Giant lair, and not only did we try to make a plan. Griswold, my character, decided not to follow that plan, went in another entrance, and when we decided to go down into a bottom layer, a bottom portion of the Hill Giant layer, um, Amrook, Carl's character, went down the rope first. I went down second, and I failed my athletics check and literally fell on him. So that has been haunting me since what, level 5? Level 4? Somewhere in there,
I think
5 in that ballpark?
like we were
Were we 8 at Gredhog? I can't remember, but it's been haunting me for quite a while. We're level 12. Yeah.
nah, you're probably
Um
right. I think it was.
yeah.
We were level 5, level 6.
So I wanna take this a little bit off script here, because I'm curious. I have a interesting question. I was watching a YouTube short, and one of the comments was about sorcerers, and since this is a sorcerer spell, they get their arcane ability from their heritage, their bloodline. And their comment was is that they don't believe that sorcerers should have material components, because they don't have to use something to make their arcane ability. It's literally living within them. And this one here requires material components, roots of tendrils from the roots of an oak. Okay, pretty mediocre, nothing crazy. But what are your thoughts on spells that don't have a material cost and sorcerers not having to use material components? It's a weird, interesting thought, but it kind of hit me for a minute. I'm like, oh, damn.
Depends on your campaign.
Yeah.
Who has a deep tycoon style, then you need to follow that. But if our camp kind of like, okay, if you have a spell that has this, just assume that like, town you 50 gold incense. Don't worry.
Yeah. 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 Good point. Good point. I'm not sure how I would do that for a DM. I mean, we're too.
I
Um,
really, in, but then again, I'm for me
yeah.
old. This for us, look
Yeah.
at bajillion platinum.
Oh,
It's meaningless. So for us, being able to not have limited resources, had unlimited. It's like using cheat codes, right? Like it,
yeah.
or a pay to play game. If you play in Clash of Clans and real money to buy all of your gems, then fun is the game.
Yeah. It kind of takes it out of it. Yeah. That's a really good point. I hmm, I almost want to like. I would almost love to pit a wizard and sort like kind of have that material component for the wizard because they have to learn it, and then have the sorcerer be like, there are some things that we might be able to play with, but I do agree. I like the economy of having to go out. I really enjoyed in the D&D movie where and I can't remember his name. The sorcerer was literally just messing with his belt and pulling out material components. I just thought that was fascinating. Or some of the stuff that they're doing in Critical Role and stuff where Liam always calls stuff out from campaign 2 where he's being specific. I mean that is really interesting to see how he utilizes that. So yeah, I think I'd side with you on that one. That it brings a little bit of flavor.
I think there's also opportunity. Okay, so this spells tendrils from the root. What happens if I use spell chain
Oh,
and work with your DM obviously, but like, can you play around with and be creative at RA spell and new spells that people have never heard of? A lot of times, those are just variation spells.
that's actually a really really interesting concept. Ooh, I'd love to see that in my campaign. I'd love to see if someone did that. I don't think we've had anyone do that in our first campaign, but that would be really interesting to play with. If
Yeah,
Rusty just started pulling out some things, that'd be
I
kind
think
of
that's
cool.
one of the things you
Oh yeah,
have the
yeah,
oh this is gonna be more because if you don't tell them ahead of time, chances are they're gonna be like it does.
yeah.
So
Let them sit on it, grow a seed for a minute, and see how much they can play with the flavor. I think that's pretty awesome.
yeah,
I really like that.
and be aware that risk you take because you've never tried it before trying in combat. To put the tendrils from a root from a walnut, they have the so you may want to play around outside of combat. It does or well
I'm always thinking of Ron Weasley's wand in Harry Potter when he tries to use a broken wand and it
the
backfires on him for
slugs.
a minute. He's like, "Oh, let's try this." Nope, didn't work out the way you thought it would, but could be clutch when you need it. That's I like that. I really like that. This thinking about this when we were in the Eye of the Allfather and that giant boulder decided to roll after us. That might be pushing it. I don't know if Garrett would have said the boulder is an item. I mean, that might be a little outside of the balance, but maybe it would have slowed it down. Maybe it would have been interesting.
I think since it is spell specifically calls out that doesn't matter, gravity doesn't matter. I would say
Yeah, and it stops it right there, right? Yeah, I see this as
That's pretty cool use right there. Boulders being chucked by a giant. We have used levitate, which
mhm.
you could say the same thing, that levitate below it but not hold it in place.
Yep.
I would say this is probably the reason.
I would, I'm actually thinking about, you go up against someone with like a legendary item or something like that. I mean, you cast and then boom, they can't use it. I mean, that just hurts right off the bat. Or what if you did an arcane focus? You somehow got the arcane focus of a spellcaster, tossed it, and then basically just immobilized it out of reach. I mean, you're messing with their ways to cast spells at that point. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I think those are
Yeah. All right.
giving me ideas about.
Dude, someone's gonna use this. It's gonna backfire on me. There's no doubt about it. What is Yep, so Keegan's the Chaos Goblin. I could see him definitely using this. Who else? We don't have a bard. We don't have a bard or a warlock or a sorcerer, actually. No, we do have a warlock. We do have a warlock in with Eric's character. The mighty Triton, as we're gonna start calling him for a handful of reasons. But maybe he'll surprise me and use this one. So we've ended the other ones with, if we, at the end of this, do we think this is on par, underwhelming, or overwhelming? I think the last two were on par, maybe underwhelming. They were all right. Maybe better if we had some changes. What's your ending thoughts on Immobilize?
I think it's a positive aspect, especially that picker at the higher level and RP value, and like you said, like able to like stop an item. I would put this A tier in my. It's small. It's going to be niche still A tier.
Yeah, yeah, I'm agreeing with you on this. I'd give it a positive tier. Yeah, I'd say A as well. I'm now my mind's kind of spinning with a handful of things. I'm thinking about like the Worm Skull Throne in Storm King's Thunder, immobilizing something like that so it can't get closer. There's just certain things that would be very interesting, that this could be used on, more of a utility and safety situation. But yeah, I would definitely give this an A tier. And I guarantee this is going to come back to haunt me in Crown of the Oathbreaker. So I'm curious to see who uses it and when they do. So, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Thanks everyone for watching here. Continue to watch Mondays around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about more spells, feats. There's different subclasses that we'll get into, which could be really really interesting. I'm sure we'll do a comparison at some point. Which will be a lot of fun here. And if you ever want to watch someone play D&D for a couple of hours, join us on Sundays around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can certainly watch the chaos ensue because we are definitely a bunch of chaos goblins and have a lot of fun doing it. So appreciate everyone's time. Have a good one.